Trinity Sports Medicine, in its newly remodeled state-of-the-art facility, has a team of professionals that are committed to helping you move better, feel better, and live better. With services to keep you strong and in the game. A qualified staff of sports medicine physicians, a certified chiropractic sports physician, athletic trainers, physical therapists, and performance specialists. Trinity Sports Medicine has comprehensive care programs that are designed to keep you moving, improve your performance, and keep you on track for success.
No, he's already been filming.
I don't care.
Seriously, you don't shave anymore?
Let's shave.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Are we filming now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody.
Don't you shave anymore?
No.
You're seriously.
I will for Saturday when they honor me. My team.
What team? Oh, that's right. Homecoming Saturday. Steubenville Catholic Central, 93 team that you were the water boy.
Hey, I was on that team. I played in at least 4 or 5 games that season out of 12. I'm a star.
Yeah. Was the Adam Sandler movie based on you? Water boy?
No, he was a way better tackler than I was.
You know he blocked better than you.
Probably.
Yeah. See, right now you getting all your, what's the word? Your cousin, Jimmy Joe Moore, is actually plays
Did
9.
Did you see my cousin this last weekend? 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and Central that rolled.
He played more in one game than you did in your entire career.
That's darn right. Good job, Jimmy Joe. Okay, where were we?
Friday, we have 10 games this week, 9 on Friday, and leading the way is number 1 Mathison at number 4 Big Red. Yeah, there won't be a lot of people there, will there?
No, that's not a good game at all.
No. It's only been standing room only the last 2 times they played down here, and I'm guessing it'll be standing room only Friday night too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. We talked about it before. They have the freshman quarterback at Massillon.
Yeah, Danny Clark, 6'3", 200.
So you
first freshman quarterback in school.
You got a freshman quarterback on one side. On the other side, you got the two-headed monster of
the 2 sophomores,
Burke and
Dimitri Claros.
And yeah, this is going to be a fun game. I mean, the atmosphere is going to be insane. That stadium's going to be packed.
It's going to be, and I think the biggest difference is Big Red's still a run-first team, and they can throw the ball, but Massillon likes to do both, and they do it. Obviously, your freshman quarterback, 6'3", 200. Yeah, that's
a big freshman.
That's a big freshman, man. He's a whole lot bigger than you were as a freshman.
That's bigger than I was as a senior.
Bigger than you are now.
Bigger than no, maybe not weight.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when you sit around the house, you sit around the house.
I'm shorter, but I'm bigger.
Yeah, Harding Stadium would be a good place to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
That's absolutely going to be a fun one. The Madonna has their homecoming, and they're playing Cameron. Listen, here's all I have to say about that. Madonna 63, Bellsville 8. Bellsville 12, Cameron 6. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, I'm going to be at that game, and I get to watch Madonna pretty much score 60. The only real question about that game is who's going to win homecoming.
Yeah, which lady's going to pick the right? It's the rose.
A flower is a rose. A rose is a flower. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. A good game's going to be at Edison because Edison's coming off a 26-12 loss in the downpour to Bel Air that you actually watched. He loves that, doesn't he? He loves that.
Sorry, Dad.
Union Locals got beat up by Harrison as we kind of expected, 27-7. Edison needs to kind of right the ship a little bit, and it's their homecoming too. So I expect Edison to kind of get back on the winning track here.
Yeah. I mean, last week they owned the ball in that game. I mean, I had it in the story. It was, I think, 84 plays.
Yeah, they ran 46. They ran 46 more offensive plays.
Yeah, and they had almost double. It was 19-10 in first downs. They forced 3 turnovers, didn't turn over the ball. It was the weirdest game I've ever seen where a team lost by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Edison, I think, would have. I mean, and unfortunately, you only play a team once, but they probably beat Bel Air 7-8 times out of 10. Unfortunately for them, that was
those numbers, yeah.
If they run it like that, I don't think Union Local is as good as that 3-0 start They're not as
Right.
bad as some past Union local teams,
Right.
but they're not as good as that 3-0 start. I just think Edison's a better team, and they're going to right the ship.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brook goes to Park on now. The Brook schedule is interesting because week 1 they played Morgantown, like 2 in the state. Week 2 they played Alderdice. Week 3 they played University, who at the time was number 6 in the state. Week 4 they played Big Red, who at the time was number 4 in the state of Ohio. And now week 5 they're playing William Park, who's like number 4 in the state in West Virginia. Nice scheduling.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about another team in Toronto.
Toronto's doing the same thing.
But yeah, that's a heck of a way to open up, especially for a young team.
Exactly. It's not like It's not like a couple years ago when that team had all those seniors.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
like
that team would have loved that schedule.
Yeah.
When you're young like that, you don't want to see that in front of you. But you got to give them credit. They came out swinging against Big Red. They actually scored first.
Right.
I mean, you don't want to hang your hat on that, but that's something.
They scored first on a play that apparently faked out the entire stadium.
Yeah. So. This is a Brook team that's growing. They're going to get better.
Absolutely.
Just unfortunately, they're getting hit by a grinder to start the year.
Yeah, this would be in the college RPI as the number 1 schedule in the nation, and not even close. Then we got Bel Air going to Buckeye Local. Hey, you watched Buckeye last week, and they showed some major league backbone last week against Creek. Played really well, coming off a couple blowouts. Gave Creek all they could handle. All they could handle. And then you saw Bel Air the next day. But if Buckeye Local plays like that every week, they're going to get a couple wins.
Yeah. Buckeye Local made steps forward, and they actually had a lot of chances against Creek.
Yeah, they did.
To really take that game. But unfortunately, it seems like when they get in those positions, it's almost like, they're a young team.
Right.
They kind of lose what they're supposed to do when they get in those red zone situations or they get a turnover or good field position. But they gave an undefeated Indian Creek team everything they wanted.
Yep.
Bel Air ran the ball against Edison way better than I thought they would. They had a kid hit 195.
Was the Westlake kid?
Yeah, he's tough, and you know what they can do throwing the ball. If the weather's dry, they're going to toss it. That's what they're going to go back to, tossing it all around the field. But Buckeye their goal is like last week, just keep improving.
Yeah.
And if they improve a little bit, Indian Creek's a better team than Bel Air. So if they show some more improvement this week, who knows? They could steal one. I would say Bel Air's the favorite, but you never know.
That's why you play the game.
Exactly.
Okay, now the other team with the nice schedule start. Toronto goes to Shadyside. So week 1, Toronto gets Wellsville, who's like 9th in the state in Division 7. Week 4, they get Catholic Central, who's 7th in the state in Division 7. And now week 5, they get Shadyside, who's number 3 in the state in Division 7. Hello!
Yeah, that's a rough one.
It's not like Toronto's a bad ball club. That's a good ball club.
They're a very solid team. They have some explosive talent in the backfield with Blaze and Ches and Charles Ross III. They can make plays. They play physical ball. Coach Meek said the first 8 minutes of the Central game was exactly what he wanted to see. They had that 8-minute drive.
Yeah, that was a really good drive.
There, but they ended up with a field goal. He said then the bottom fell out, and he said it was the first time this season that he didn't feel like they played physical. Because even against Wellsville, he said they played
absolutely.
physical. And they're going to have to get back to that. A long drive or two to keep Wellsville from grinding on them.
Or Shadyside.
Shadyside, sorry. I'm thinking Wellsville for some reason. But Shadyside.
Same colors.
Tigers.
Same colors.
Yeah. But a long drive or two to keep Shadyside from being able to grind out on them and wear them down because they are the smaller team. Shadyside, he said, Eric Meek loves Shadyside's offense.
Right.
It's the I formation, old school.
Yeah.
You don't see it as much anymore, but he loves that. He calls it fundamental football, good fundamental football. It's going to be a tough one for Toronto, but I kind of see them having a better showing than they did against Central.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Central is the reason why that had a tough showing. Central played really well. All right, Harrison Central goes to Ferry. Ferry's coming off just getting whooped at home by St. Clairsville, which doesn't happen very often where Ferry gets beat like that in their backyard. Harrison's coming off a nice win against Union Local. Our boy Kropka is going back to his home stomping grounds. We played for Ferry, coached for Ferry, but they have a Harrison doesn't beat Ferry and Ferry. Yeah. And as Harrison's young, Ferry's not, and you got to give the experience you have to give the nod to the experienced team. And obviously, they both like to run the ball, and they both know what each other's going to do. But you kind of like Ferry at home this one.
Harrison has an extremely tough defense.
Yep,
they're very good on defense. Ferry is going to come out angry because of what happened with the
exactly.
game. I don't see them having a hangover because they're not that type of team that usually lets that get them down. They usually take it out on the next team.
Right.
Harrison might be able to hang in there because of their defense, but I don't know if they have enough offense to keep up with Ferry, especially at Ferry. So, but you never know. Like I said, when your defense is playing good, you get a couple turnovers.
Yeah,
you get a short field or two.
You never know.
Thing you know, things change. But yeah, that's going to be a rough one on the road.
All right. Speaking of a rough one on the road, Creek's going to their nemesis, St. Clairsville. And Creek has a hard time beating them. A couple years ago, they had them by the they had St. Clairsville by the tail. And I think they lost in overtime. It was like probably 3 or 4 years ago. They had them. But they just have a hard time with St. C's athleticism, and Jalen Brown was just a man last week against Ferry. Obviously, you can try to put 9 in the box and beat them, and you make them run on you. But they've obviously seen it already, and been pretty successful. They're 4-0. Creek's coming off, I think, what just can be construed a hangover game against Buckeye, where Buckeye made them work a lot more than I think Coach Connor wanted them to work. And I know Coach Grinch was getting after a little bit on the sidelines with his defense. Creek's a good team, but Creek's also one-dimensional. They have a hard time throwing the ball on a consistent basis. They do run the ball very well with Blake Rohr. They run the ball real with Zach and Corey Goodrich and Tyler Latham and those kids. But they just don't match up well with St. C.
No, it's going to be a rough one. The one thing about Indian Creek is Lake Heritage Central, they have a really good defense, but it seems like the last 2 weeks, especially against Buckeye and Oak Glen, they have these moments where they let down.
Right.
It's like they feel like they're in control of a game. Well, you can't do that against St. Clairsville. The last 2 teams were only good enough to make it a game when you do that.
Right.
You do that against Jalen Brown and company.
He'll just take it over.
3 touchdowns
before
you know it. They can't have that let down. And you're right. How one-dimensional they are on offense can end up being an issue, but they have several kids that
absolutely.
Can run the ball.
They can't throw it. I mean, they can throw it.
Yeah, they can throw it. But Michael Puro stepped up last week. He came in the fourth quarter and pretty much put that game away for him. He ended up with 100 yards, most of them in the fourth quarter, when that was still a game. It wasn't like they had emptied the benches. He went in and he had a really nice game. They have the running backs. They have the offense that can keep St. C's big guns off the field.
Yeah.
They have the defense, if they stay focused, to slow them down. It's just a matter of, do they have that letdown moment?
Right. And the worst part for me is the fact that, I can't be on the sidelines to watch the calm, cool, collected, quiet, reserved Andrew Connor on the sidelines.
That's my guy.
Dude just kind of sits and watches, never says a word, never gets out of the coach's box. He's a lot like Joe Dunleavy, just really chill, really relaxed.
They don't say much.
That's awesome.
Quiet fellas.
Cool.
And by the way, about Creek, probably the best fourth quarter team I've seen this year.
Yeah, it's true.
No matter what happens the rest of the game, the fourth quarter, it's Indian Creek. So St. C needs to think about that. Maybe if they are in control, you better put them away, because they will take over a fourth quarter on you.
All right. Probably some of the most fun I've had on the sideline this week this year, or last couple of years, was last week at Weir High, watching the Red Riders come down, being down 21-6. Ended up winning 22-21 for the first win in 13 games since November 4th, 2011. And I will say this, that when Grafton scored to make it 21-6, I'm on the sideline watching, because I just love watching how coaches interact with kids. And it's a great place to watch, because you get to see what's going on and hear what's going on that the fans don't. And every coach to a man after Grafton went up 21-6 was incredibly positive with the kids. There was nothing negative said. There was, we can win this game, let's go. It was all positive all the time. And Weir scores again to make it 21-12. They get the 2-pointer on William Larch getting in that he should have never gotten in. I'll tell you that kid should have never made it on that 2-pointer, but he got in. And then they get a turnover, and then after throwing the nice wheel route to Nate Hartman, they throw a nice out to and to Clarence Bennett, and they score. And then they call timeout, and they call a throwback back to the quarterback for a 2-point. Seriously, I look at Mackenzie on the sideline every time, and I go, "How do you call that? I mean, how do you call that?" And that's just a great play. They win 22-21, get the monkey off the back. Now this week they go to a winless Liberty Harrison team, and for the first time in who knows how long, I think Weir's favored, really.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you had to be happy for the Weir Red Riders.
Absolutely.
No matter who you root for, Weir has had a rough couple of years, and to get that win last week was just I was excited for them. They got a very winnable game. You're right. They're
Absolutely.
on the road, but they they could be favored in that.
Absolutely, they could be favored.
This is a game they could have not just a win, but a win streak.
Yeah.
That
hasn't happened in a really long time.
That would be great for them. I'm pulling for them. And, Larch is a very talented kid. I don't know much about Liberty Harrison, but Larch is a kid that is really good there back behind center.
Absolutely.
And he's a playmaker, and I feel like, he might be able to carry his team to another win. Yep. And they have, like we've talked about before, they have some track stars out there.
Yeah, they have some talented kids, there's no doubt.
You got some kids with speed, you get them in space, good things can happen.
Yep.
So.
All right, now the game that you're going to be at, not to cover, but to, just be in the back row where you've always been in your entire life.
They're going to honor me.
No, you'll happen
say
to
my
be.
name, and I'm going to step forward to go, and the crowd will go wild.
And they'll laugh.
No, they're going to cheer for me.
Nora's going to cheer for you.
I am a
That's
Crusaders legend. Legend.
With a legend in his own mind. I think he just made McElwain throw up in his mouth a little bit.
Hey, all I know is when I left the school,
yeah,
they took my shimmel from running the scout team and put it up in the rafters because that's how good a scout team player.
What were you, Rudy?
I was.
Were you Rudy at Catholic Central, or were you Rudy?
I was Rudy because they let me on the team without having to go to another school first.
Did the senior captains go into coach's office and lay down the uniforms and say, unless Younce is on the team, we're not playing?
No, there was another kid they called Rudy. I won't call him out. But if he wasn't on the team, it would have been me.
Okay. Central looked really good last week. I mean, really good. And, they're playing an Oakland team that's struggling. Obviously, Oakland's over. And they haven't had the easiest schedule either. But Central last week, after that first drive by Toronto, they owned the entire game. Oh, yeah. Whether it was Colabella, a couple little passes to Fletcher, and then Khalil running and Fletcher running and passes to whatever it was. And I think the one thing that impressed me about Central last week is that I think after that first drive by Toronto, Central's offensive and defensive lines owned the game. Yeah. They just owned it. And I think that was huge for Coach Daly.
Yeah, and we talk so much about their offense, the way their defense looked.
Yeah, it was good.
And we talked Jimmy Joe Mort, my cousin, and Jake McCann. They blew up the line of scrimmage the entire game. And then you had the guys like Parika, who we've talked about, and Murphy, who we talked about, and Fallon. These guys fly to the ball.
Yeah, they do.
They like to hit. You can see it. They get excited. I tweeted out, Parika hit somebody so hard I got a bruise in the stand. Those kids like to hit, and I think it's the first time in a long time I've seen a Central defense that really wants to come up and just pop somebody. Yeah. They take pride in putting hits on somebody. And they got a front that's actually coming off the ball physically and battling. So this Central team, they're just going to – the key to stopping Oak Glen is know where Micah Swiger is and don't let him get behind you.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So this should be an easy homecoming game for Central, and I'll be there and they'll clap for me, just me and only me.
Seriously?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know you are. He's a mess. An absolute mess.
But I am the greatest bench player who only played 4 games during a state title season ever to go to Catholic Central.
And he has that.
Greatest.
He has that embroidered on his pillow at home. The greatest.
Body pillow.
He is a body pillow, actually.
What's wrong with the body pillow?
It's a lot to embroider on a pillow.
And just still working on it. See you next week. Well, then, I'll just start taking money out of your pocket.
I don't do it for the money. I do it for the love of the game. Hey, don't ever correct the talent.